Welcome back, Badgers. We've got a very special episode coming up with Scott Aitchison. We actually tried to record this over a year ago, but I think Scott had maybe overindulged on the train from Dornoch to Harrogate just before we recorded it, so in the end we decided it probably wasn't fit for broadcasting. But fortunately, we managed to persuade Scott back into the Badger set, so we've got a great episode coming up. But before we listen to it, I just want to thank all of you who have sent in questions for the pod. Last week, Pledge and I discussed our ideas for future episodes. We've set up an email address, which is hello@golfbadgers.com, where we encourage any of you who might have a question for us, be it specific and technical, if you work in the golf industry, or perhaps more general, to actually write into us. We've loved reading your messages so far, and we've had some absolutely fantastic questions sent in already. Hopefully they're questions that we can answer, but for those that we can't, we've actually lined up some supplementary badgers from across the industry who will help us answer the things on agronomy, drainage, irrigation, trees and vegetation management, or anything else. So please do send them in and we'll make sure we get to them. But it's not just the industry professionals who listen to this podcast. Part of the reason I personally have enjoyed doing the podcast over the last few years is because I've learned so much. If you're a golfer, then all of these things that we discuss will affect you. This is particularly evident right now, as the UK has had unprecedented rainfall for so long. The Masters is around the corner, but the golfing season does not yet feel upon us. So, I'm keen for us to run a no stupid questions section of the podcast as well. So just as important as the technical questions, a series of beginner's guides to different topics is high on our agenda. So again, please do write into us at hello@golfbadgers.com with any questions or topics that you think Bledge and I should tackle. But that's enough from me. So without any further ado, here is our most recent conversation with the famous Scott Aitchison.
Doodly-doo. Do the music. I want the music.
Scott, can you introduce the episode?
Doodly-doo, doodly-doo. I love the music, man. It's so chilled.
That was the point, wasn't it? Really, it was to go your ASMR voice.
Yeah, it's meant to be a nice, relaxing
And
experience.
also, no music and no beer. You guys are normally having a beer.
No,
I had far too many beers last night. Yeah, so this is a kind of self-introduction. So Scott Aitchison with us from Royal Dornoch. Scott is a deputy there.
I am.
Over both courses.
I am.
And a very good friend of mine. A very good friend.
I'd like to think so. And of now Sam, one of the best coopers out of Tommy, Davey, and the Mini Cooper.
It would be good if I had one of those little hats it could add to the eccentricity, couldn't it? The little fez.
Please have a fez.
Little
That would
fez.
be incredible. So
Well, we need to get
be,
you a fez, actually.
No,
you would
that-
suit it.
You would
look,
suit a fez,
It
Sam.
would look really weird, but I'm
Is
with
this
it.
going to be like the story at the end of the news, the comedy puppy story? You know, at the end of the news where you have like a novelty sort of a dog
and
skateboard
yeah,
or something
and
like that.
oh, right, yeah.
Is that what
The
this
jet skiing,
is that what you could be in?
The performing monkey.
No, this is the main
Told that a
event that
few
we've
times.
been building for. Well, Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, James.
It's a
Thank you.
pleasure to have you here. And why don't you start by telling us about your early life, how you got into greenkeeping, where it all started?
Well, I haven't really done much reflecting on my career, to be honest, but I suppose being an Ayrshire boy, I was never too far away from a golf course. I suppose there'd be four golf courses involved in the journey. There would be I sort of remember first playing golf with my dad on Welbeck. You guys are aware of Welbeck Golf Club? It's a sort of 3-course municipal thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of really very near my house. So
I don't know that way. Is that in Glasgow County?
Ayrshire's got magic
Because
municipal
that's what I'm thinking. Because I've played like the Darley and Lochgreen. And
That's them.
Oh, that's them.
Fullerton, Lochgreen, and Darley. That's
okay. Yeah, no, I
Welbeck
played those
Golf
three.
Club. I think.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, my mum and dad were members there, and my mum was really good.
They're class. I
were
think
great.
that Troon must have the best munis in the country. I can't think of many places that have.
I think I might be wrong, but I think there was 9 golf courses you could get in a ticket for. This is going back now. I don't know what it costs now, but it was like under 300 quid. You could have 9
That's
courses.
a joke, isn't it?
It was a wonderful ticket. But I was only a kid, and then parents split up, so I went to Prestwick and St Cuthbert Golf Course.
Yeah.
It was again right in my back garden, so used to be able to get this summer ticket as a kid. So me and the lads from the wee estate that we lived on, we would get a temporary membership. That was what it was called, a temporary membership. So you could play for the summer, and then we moved again down to the beach, and then that's when I joined St Nicholas Golf Course, and that's where my greenkeeping started.
I love St Nick's. It's what an underrated golf course. Well, half of Ayrshire is underrated, isn't it? Because people gravitate to
There's just
certain
golf courses everywhere.
Do you think that's the stretch of land that there's sort of more golf courses on that you could just play across? You know, like when you've got to play over to Western Gales and Dundonald and then over the road to Kilmarnock Brassey, and then over the road, then you're on one of the muni courses, aren't you? You play all the way through.
Yeah.
Troon, what's the Portland course, Troon course, Prestwick. I mean,
I think it stops at Prestwick next, but I think that whole stretch of coastline
unbelievable
is pretty golfy.
Does Troon and Prestwick have a match, don't they? Like a dinner match where they play, or a town match where they play across the fence? Is that?
I think that's right. Yeah,
that's Old Prestwick. Sure.
Old Prestwick. Yeah,
there'll be Kummel involved somewhere if it's Old Prestwick. They love their Kummel there.
I think it's like your Hagen Hoof thing that you used to do.
Exactly,
isn't it? You play from one, have lunch at the other, and then play all the way back. But that's Old Prestwick. But Prestwick St Nick's is what an underrated course. I thought that was cracking.
What's that golf commentator, Alex
Hay? Yep.
I remember him describing it as a golf course where you could. It was like trying to hit a camel through the eye of a needle. It's funny the things that stay with you. But that was what he said about it. And it also, another thing, just when you're talking about the golf courses in Ayrshire, I saw it sometime, it was a long time ago, where it said, if Scotland is the home of golf, Ayrshire's the front room.
Wow, oh, I'm sure there's going to be a few people that are going to
bring it.
Bring
it on any day, phone in,
and clearly
I'm ready for you.
Scott's very patriotic about where he's from, but
we
knows
know that you left the front room and went to the attic at some point. So, what was the journey in between, Scott?
Yeah, so I joined. I was a junior member at St Nicholas. I wasn't any good at golf, but I loved it, and they made me junior captain, which was a real moment in my life.
Were you a junior captain, Bledge?
No.
But he was good at golf.
No, I wouldn't really. Was never junior captain.
No.
So I've got my name in mahogany by default.
That's awesome.
And because they started an initiative there where the junior captain got the option to work in the summertime in the golf course.
What a good idea.
So I did that. And I must have done something right because I got invited back for the October holidays. And then I went full-time in 1992. And that was infectious. I loved it. I think I was wanting to be I didn't know what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an air traffic control.
That's what you'd probably do in Prestwick Troon, isn't it?
Then I get horribly exposed by high school for being stupid. And you got
found out.
You've got found. I mean, school was just about, in the west coast of Scotland, was just about survival, really. I mean, learning was for other people. But did that, and then golf. I just loved being part of the team. The guys that I worked with, they weren't golfers or anything to do with golf, but they were the funniest human beings. That I was such a wet behind the ears 16-year-old, and these guys were just so colourful and the language they used and everything, and I just loved being part of their team. And yeah.
Can you remember those sorts of first weeks and whatever on the job? Were the elements of the job that you remember fondly now? What was it? Was it cutting? You know, were you allowed to actually get on the mower and do stuff?
No.
It
was
left
right
out for a long way.
I think we still employ this at Dornoch as well. You know, you do the real basics for a long time and get them drummed into you. But I remember raking raking my first bunker, and I couldn't believe how difficult it was to do. And the guy that was supervising me after I'd finished it and thought, done a good job, he spat in it. So I failed the first one, but got pretty good at it.
There you go. That's
Hopefully that's not happening anymore up the road.
Oh no.
Should have done that to you at the Open.
That's it.
We'll come on to it.
We're not allowed to talk about that.
So you spent some time at St Nick's and you cut your teeth, and then where did you end up
7 years.
after? 7 years.
7
okay.
years. I went up to Dornoch in '98.
Oh, so you went straight from. So you're a two club man.
That's it.
Wow.
I'm loyal to the loyal.
So how did that come about then? How did the move come about?
My boss at the time, he was a Dornoch lad, and I'd heard so much about Dornoch, obviously through him, but never actually been up. So I think it was the Scottish Championships in 1995. I went up and saw Dornoch for the first time, and I was working there by '98 because Robert Patterson had moved to Royal Aberdeen.
Royal Aberdeen, yep.
And Bob went up and got the Dornoch job, and then he took me up as his first assistant up there, and the remit of the first assistant at the time was to run the Struy golf course, so that was really attractive to me. After 7 years I was doing my HNC golf course management at the time.
Elmwood.
At Elmwood, I was 1 year into it. There's some superstar greenkeepers on that, Paul Seago and Finton Brennan, they were in my class. They won't remember me, I remember them though. And yeah, I was really into it. I thought I was going to get Dornoch in my CV and drift off around the world, but turns out I just love Dornoch, and I love the way of life up there.
You and me both.
Yeah, and the people I've met are my best friends, not necessarily through golf, but I love my people there, and it take a hell of a lot to get me away from Dornoch, you know.
So you went in then with the Struy. So for those who don't know, Dornoch's got two courses, hasn't it? The storied old course and the Struy, which is a much better course than most people probably give it credit for, and who rarely stick around to play it sometimes. Which I think is unfair.
Really, it lives in the shadow of Dornoch.
Of course, any course.
Yeah, but you put the Struy anywhere else in the world, and it probably command a healthy membership, you know.
Because it's a big old estate. I feel that Dornoch, because by the time you've got from the ninth tee down one end to the all the way down to the far end of the Struy.
11th Struy, yeah.
There's some distance between those 2 points, isn't there?
Yeah, Ian, my boss, he measured it one time. He actually he used it well, you know, because we were able to get a pickup truck. Because I mean, if Ian or myself are shouted from one end, as you've just illustrated, it takes a long time to get there. So,
and then one goes up towards Granny's Highland Hame.
That's the one.
And the other goes towards the estuary, and they're sort of out and back. I know the street sort of goes back and forth a little bit, but generally it's a hell of a way between those 2 points. And
yeah, and
then you've got big old areas as well with the aerodrome and the other things in and around. Right. You must cover a lot of ground, you guys.
Yes, we do. We've got not just the courses. We've got an academy course. We've got the airstrip and lots of fields as well. So yeah, it's as you say, it's a big estate, Dornoch.
How many staff have you got there?
We're a team of 20 just now. Myself 20. And Ian. Ian's my boss, and then you've got Willie and Andrew, the mechanics, and then the greenkeepers. So.
And how do you split that team? Do you sort of?
We are one.
You're one team.
We're one. That's the top course. Sorry, the championship course. We call it the top course. Is we just sort of give that almost a championship setup every morning. So we need all our boys for that, and then afterwards we'll go down the Struy. Struy's not as busy as the top course, so we really need to get everything done up the top in the morning, and then sort of everything else gets taken care of after down Struy.
So what's Dornoch? How's it changed in the time that you've been there in terms of the town, in terms of the number of people that go there? Because it must be now one of not necessarily the busiest, but it's top of so many people's lists when they come to Britain and want to play golf. So I can't imagine that was the case when you started there.
To be fair, I think the market, the American market was certainly there. There was a lot of visitors. That I think that's how we were able at Dornoch to keep the membership subscriptions relatively modest, because we've got a big influx of visitors.
It's a proper destination, that neck of the woods now. There's so many great golf courses that you can knock off at the same time.
That's right, but I mean, it was busy, Sam. I'm not, it was not like it is a small Highland town, but it was busy when I went up. It's always been. The only drop-offs obviously were 9/11, and COVID. Where we are a small Highland club, but we've turned into an absolute monster.
To most people's eyes, I think it's probably a bit worse, sort of weather-wise and everything else, than it actually probably is in reality. It's what was it like, sort of making that adjustment that far north for you when you went up?
A great question, because I come from the Costa del Clyde, and I was used to a sort of better weather. No, I've seen the weather change up there as well. When I first went up there, it would be really snowy in the winter time, and you really were struggling to do things. And then now you'll know this, the seasons are almost changing a wee bit, aren't they? And
wet and wild.
So don't get as much snow up there. Although last week it was like Russia, man.
I was up down the road. It was as much snow as I've seen in Britain.
But I mean, I haven't seen. I wasn't. Ian's been there. I know I've been there 25 years, but Ian's been there since 1986. So he's seen the real change from being a team of, I think, maybe 6 he worked in.
Jeez.
And now, it's a huge operation.
And the construction of the new sheds as well was quite a pivotal moment, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And that was Ian's baby. I mean, he drew that at the back of a beer mat type of thing, and then made it...
A big beer mat.
No, fair play, Ian. He just does it. He just does so much for that golf club, man. I can't respect the guy enough,
You've got a great working dynamic. I mean,
I think so.
I really love the way that he talks about you. Very, he does give you a hard time, but in jest.
That's Ian. That is Ian. That's the way he's really good at man managing. He's always got a smile for everybody. And I hope I can reflect that in the team as well.
We discussed that yesterday in a talk we did for the RNA. Was about your infectiousness that you have on people, especially we'll come on to it later on. But I've never seen anyone that's as buzzing or positive, even at 3:30 every morning. I mean, at the end of shift, and I think it's a great trait, and I think every team needs a Scott Aitchison.
There's a bit of electricity, isn't there? With you,
it's
Scott.
good.
So you went then with the idea of the Strui, and changes were made probably not long after, when Robin Heisman, I think, was it?
Yes,
that came in and made a few bits and pieces. So, what was your involvement in that project, and what was that like?
It was great. I just was. I mean, it's probably too much to say that I was running the Strui, but I did my own budget, and I had my own wee staff, and we did our thing down in the Strui, and I loved it, and I got used to that, and then they said that they were going to make changes to the Strui to try and raise the profile of it a wee bit, and Robin was brought in to design 5 new holes and change 3 greens on the existing course. I was young. I don't know if I was really able to take as much in it as I should, but I was liaising with the architect. I was talking to the contracted digger, and we're shaping things out and growing things in, and it was a really important part of my greenkeeping career. That I got a lot of confidence from that, even though I would document everything now, but at the time I was just sort of winging it, and it was the first time I'd ever been exposed to anything like that. But I think the stuff that we do now, I sort of take notes and what happens when, and I get involved with it. We're doing a new hole just now down in the Strui, making a par 3, which has been a real challenge actually. So the boys have got that. I'm down here, and the boys are all working away at that just now. God bless them.
What's been challenging about it?
It's on an area where it's wet when it's dry, type of thing. Really low lying bit of the Strui, and we've had to bring in a lot of stuff.
To raise it up.
Raise it up, yeah. It's our own stuff. It's on site. It's not that we're bringing anything in.
Because that bit of the street down the left-hand side of those holes at the sort of the... What holes will they be? 8, 7, 8? Around there?
On the loop, you go 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
When you're round there, it's sort of, it's almost like you're properly on the estuary, isn't it? It's a beautiful spot. But I guess, is that pretty susceptible to the tidal elements?
Very much so. Yeah, we do get a bit of flooding down there sometimes. It's so low. I mean, it really is. There's nothing that can really be done about it. We've tried various bits of drainage and things like that into an open ditch, but we don't want to do too much. There's an important bit of the golf course out in that. I mean, the 10th hole, though, it's actually going. It's a shame. It's a shame in a way because it's one of the best holes in Dornoch, not just the Struy, the 10th and on the Struy, where it sort of dog legs round. But that's actually getting changed at the moment just now to become a new 10th. Ninth's going to be a par 3, and then the 10th's going to go right down the beach this time.
So rather than just playing towards it and then turning right, it's sort of all the way.
That's it. Yeah, it's looking pretty good at the moment, I must say.
What's the kind of the ambition for the Struy then? Is it to make it a golf course that's kind of good in its own right, that it's going to attract visitors, or is it for somewhere for your members to play whilst the big course is heaving with Americans? Or?
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is, Bledge. Just to be, it's really difficult to get on the championship course. We've got members' times, so the members have got a certain part of the days when it's just them that's allowed out. But the visitor numbers, thankfully, are high, and it is difficult to get on. So here's another option. Here's the Struy. Why not play that?
I think it's such a great idea because at the end of the day, if you are the kind of person who lives in Dornoch, who lives up in the Highlands, then maybe, and it's not going to be everyone, but maybe you're the kind of person who likes a bit of peace and quiet and tranquility and solitude. And if you feel that certain times of the year that you don't really get that in and around the club, to be able to go to that far end and to be completely away from the madding crowd is it must just be a real popular kind of release.
And you're talking to one of the guys that does that. I mean, Ledge will know, we've got a WhatsApp group together, and I post videos of myself down at that area of the golf course on a summer's night, just by myself, just knocking the ball about. You don't need to play the holes in order down the Struy. You can jump about a bit as well. So yeah, I love the Struy. Probably his biggest fan.
Billy at Troon told me that his best way of de-stressing and releasing is to go round the other course. Is it Portland?
Portland
at Troon now.
Yep. And you look at Royal Portrush, the Valley course is like a hell of a golf course. It's exactly what you're talking about. You take that out of Portrush and it'll be up there with the rest of them. It'd be really good.
I need to get you a little 9 holes somewhere, Bledge.
I think I can think of a spot.
We'll work on that. But that's amazing. So you were thrown in sort of at the deep end then, Scott, and came and did this project. And then when did you sort of go from being the Struy as your sole thing to sort of the team setup that you described earlier, where everyone works on everything?
Yep. Ian became the course manager. Excuse me, and he, took everybody under one team. Had the vision for the championship course the way he wanted it to be set up. Sort of raised everything really, really quickly, and I think went through some real. I mean, there was he went through a sort of sword transition at Dornoch. Ian started putting fescue into the greens. It was painful, man. He had to deal with a lot of heat at that time because the greens, he had to raise the height of the cat. The greens were kind of slow, and members were maybe going, "What's going on here?" But
you stick with it.
We've got Richard Windows coming in and telling us we've got fescue dominated greens.
Can you talk a little bit about that, mate? Because it's something we pick up on so many. It's a common theme that comes through a lot of these things, and you're fighting the members perhaps who, not fighting them, but they want good putting. They want quick surfaces more than anything else, and they don't
more often than not, they don't want to wait for it either.
And they don't want to wait for it. And
transition takes a while.
You always tell me it's not the grasses, it's the stuff that's underneath them, and that doesn't happen overnight. So how did you guys go about that change, and what were you able to do to sort of get to the place you are now?
It was Ian's vision. He wanted to. The previous guy had the greens really, really quick, but cut far too short for.
What would he have cut? He would have
been probably 3 mil, 3.5 mil, something like that. Really low.
And they're big greens, aren't they? At your place.
Huge greens, 1.6, I think we are.
Yeah.
This isn't a similar deal.
Yeah. Big old greens, especially 16, 17, 18.
But a lot of yours when you were at Deal, or not all of them, but quite a few of them were sort of bold, weren't they? Down. You think of the third green, you think of some 12. Of the other 12, and you don't have many greens, Scott, do you? That are taking in water. They're all sorts of shelling it off, including my errant approaches. They're all kind of everything's deflected off your enormous greens. So does that tying it then into the massive aprons and the runoffs that those greens demand that you have, does that sort of increase the challenge when you present a course? Because it's not just the 1.6 hectares of greens, it's everything that then encompasses them.
Very much, yeah. And I think what we try to do is we try to keep the flow pretty good, so you almost feel that you're going from the runoff into the fairway, and everything sort of looks as if it's the same. It's quite good.
Well, Carnoustie-esque.
Carnoustie is one of the best. You guys are pretty damn good. But the one that I always or often talk about is, this is so sad, but you cut down Foxy down 14, cutting that fairway into the 15th, then going up the hill on 16. Is that sort of an example of that flow?
Kind of. It's only that there's a road, one of our sort of track roads through 16 that kind of, and 15 as well, that sort of breaks it up. But yeah, we try to do our best with that. We've taken the quarry dust paths out now, and we've put in sort of armoured matting that we can actually get some sort of grass coming through, and it sort of camouflages it, almost makes it look all one.
Does that make it easier for you guys when you're maintaining it to sort of cut that as a continuous run? So what's that like for the guys who've not been, who can't really see what I'm describing? What's the thinking there?
I think it's just to keep it as a flow. I mean, Dornoch, apart from 17, you're out at Dornoch and then you're back in. So it's very traditional links as much as you can get. So I suppose we try to keep the sort of aesthetic, or
and you always get it's like one fairway with like the green sort of dotted variously then along it. Yeah,
and the sort of wispy rough, but the continuous flow of the transitions from the tee to the green being very, very similar as we can get it.
How many hectares of fairways have you got?
We're between 11 and 12.
So they're big
in the top. They are big. I mean, that's the thing.
Are you 10?
We're about 9.5, 10.
Dornoch's such a hard course,
but spraying it.
But off the tee, I mean, it's there's big wide fairways to hit. It's all about your second shot at Dornoch, isn't
it? Second shot.
I'm guessing that's why you love it so much, Badge. It's your favourite course, is it?
It's absolutely up there for me, because I always have this thing. You've got the courses that they might not look 10 out of 10 visually, but they are, as in the setting, everything that's around it, but they are courses that make you think. And I'm thinking the old course, I'm thinking Carnoustie and Muirfield. It's all about what's on the ground. And then you've got the other side of the spectrum where you've got the Trump's Place up in Aberdeen and Turnberry and certain others where they're so visually impressive, but maybe if I were being hyper critical, you'd say it's more about the visuals and slightly less about the actual holes themselves. But then you've got Dornoch that has both, and Dornoch is as beautiful a setting as you can find for golf. The town is gorgeous. The yellow, the bridges as you get past Inverness, and it's just like a spiritual place. So it's beautiful, but it's also a course to my mind, that makes you think more than anywhere else. And yes, it's not necessarily every single hole is, but some of the fact that you've got places like 2 must be one of the most famous par 3s out there. 5 is
Tom Watson's favourite hole.
5 is probably my favourite one of my favourite holes in golf, certainly of that yardage. Hilton, that hole's called.
That's it. Well done.
Is that right?
Little Hoylake crossover there.
Right,
and then you know places like the famous 14th Foxy, and they're just holes that, yeah, you can hit it kind of anywhere, but then good luck getting close to the pin.
That's it.
If you could name every hole at Dornoch, you are an absolute badger.
Yeah, not quite.
You know, next time, if you come back on,
I'll have
the challenge for you later.
And then Muir of Ord. Is that too?
Muir of Ord. I really like Muir of Ord. I'm a big fan of Muir of Ord, by the way.
Yeah, we could go off topic here, couldn't we? Really get into the weeds and just do names.
We really talked about it at Hoylake because we get so confused with the hole numbers because it changes about and it's different in irrigation as to the Open as the members.
Yeah.
You were just saying, well, we'll just call it by its name. Away and cut the green on the lake. Yeah. What, sorry?
Well, talking of the second hole then, I've got this thing that, you know, this is really so passionate about this as listeners turn off everywhere. But the second, I think, from your side, Scott, with the maintenance, how that dictates or how that challenges the thought process of the player, I think, is probably one of the most evident examples I can think of. For those who haven't played it, second is proper volcano green. It sort of goes all the way up front to back, massive drop-offs all the way round, sort of, you know, 270 degrees round the back, and it's got a big apron at the front, and it's a fair whack, isn't it? How far is that? 170?
170, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the first time you play Dornoch, you'll probably stand there. You think, I'm at Dornoch, you know, I've maybe got a par or even a birdie on the short first, and you think, here we go, Bushnell it, pull out your 170 club, pull it left, dead.
Oh, you're in trouble.
Because you go long left there, you go down the left-hand side, and how often do you cut that? Is that sort of rough cut?
Where's on the left-hand side?
On the left-hand side.
Yeah, we do a semi, a couple of bouts, a semi, more than that's what, 25, 50, I can't remember. I try to convert old money, but we call it 2-inch.
But you're down there, and the only option you have is to hit a high shot on the green and hope, with the green running away from you, that you can do that, and realistically you're not going to. But then you've gone down the right-hand side and you do cut that short.
Yeah.
So you can put it then back up the hill. So the next time you play Dornoch, you stand on the tee with that in the back of your mind, and you don't miss it left, you sort of flail it right because you're so worried about going down the left-hand side.
Yep.
So
and you've got the two big bunkers as well.
And then you've got the two big bunkers. So, but then I think if you've played it a dozen times, 100 times, I imagine there's got to be old boys down your way, mate, who just, instead of hitting a 170 shot, they hit a 130 shot.
You've got it, man. That's what they do. That's what the old guys do.
And they play short of the bunkers, and then they've got a dead easy putt straight up the green.
Dead easy.
Ish. But what discipline that requires to actually not even go for the green on a hole. Like, you've got to be disciplined as hell.
Yeah, absolutely. I go for the flag every single shot.
Exactly. All day long. And it's never, and that is, that's not.
I'll
the right
never
way to
change.
And yeah, that's why I'm.
But I just think it's a really good example of how, you know, you create. In architecture, we always want to create asymmetry. You want to create a side that is just death. You don't want to miss at that side, and you want to tempt people into taking the shot on, and then you almost then have a sliding scale in the opposite direction. So you want people to bail out. Like the first hole at Hoylake, the 12th hole at Hoylake in members' numbers, I think those were the two holes, and they're not that long, but they're two of the best holes. But they were the two holes from my memory that were the least hit this or last year in the Open for the pros, because one has out of bounds right, so everyone misses left, and that's the pros. And you don't want to miss the 12th left, so they miss it right. But the point is, by one side being so horrible, you're more likely to miss the green on the easy side, and then it's not easy to get up and down.
It really does. I think you've summed it up perfectly. Dornoch's in your head from the first tee. And I remember my wee pal, Alan, who I've seen a couple of times. Not enough, Alan, if you're listening. Wee Pinky, he's at Royal Jersey now. Done great for himself.
Big fan of Royal Jersey.
Love him to bits. I remember watching him walking up off the sixth green, walking up this, screaming into the sky, "You won't beat me!" Just like that. just he's screaming at the course, and that illustrated it perfectly. Yeah,
it's and you can hit the greens, and then you can have just old course, just set the strategy and the challenge. And it's not about, as we say, it's not about the tee shot. It's just the tee shot's got to be in the right place to give you a chance to, and that can change then day to day where you guys stick the pin. So
Yeah.
how much do you think on that when you're sort of setting up the Carnegie Shield or whatever? Do you?
Yeah, this for the Shield final, we've pretty much got you'll know what the pins are. They're kind of traditionally in the hardest sort of spots, you know.
Nick Smits this year did well in the Shield, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think he got to the final.
Yes.
Did he?
Yes.
Oh, good for him.
Friend of the podcast.
Big fan.
Usually won by Chippy at Skibo.
Aye,
but
mate, it's just
Hell of a golfer.
Chippy, just
Different class. Different class.
It's a different thing, isn't it? There's other good golfers. Alec McDonald at Brora as well. He's a really good golfer. He's won the Shield a couple of times.
and it's a hell of a shield, isn't it?
There's a few boys in my team, I better mention them as well. They're good golfers, but yeah.
Do your team play much? Do they get to play
There's
much?
a few really good golfers in the team, really good golfers. You had one of your mentors, you mentor for Craig Mackay.
Oh, Craig, yes, aye.
Really good golfer, Craig. He jump out the road when he hits it, man. He gives it a fair scud. So we scale it as well. So there's loads of good golfers in Dornoch, as you'd imagine, you know.
What's it like in the community sort of roundabout then? You mentioned Chippy. So Chippy's down the road at Skibo, isn't he? And I always big up Chippy because I think sort of his rough, his management of the whole site is one of the best that I've seen anywhere. You can hit you can go offline, find your ball within 10 paces of getting there, but then you try and play a shot and the long wispy grass gets trapped around your hosel.
I like your tactic here, Badger. You're trying to butter up Chippy to get you a game at Skibo. I can assure you, man, I know him. It doesn't work.
No chance. But I'm thinking, because you are sort of slightly cut off from the rest of the world, does that strengthen the bond that you guys have with the other courses in the area?
Massively, and it was hugely, when I first went up, this was really impressive to me because the team were almost self-sustainable. Coming from the Central Belt and everything was, easily delivered and easily accessible. That before all those bridges and everything were built, that must have taken an absolute donkey's age to get to Dornoch. So rather than rely on people out with, they were able to do their own mechanics. They were able to use their own turf. They've got their turf nursery, so their own sand. They didn't need anybody else. They did it themselves.
That's a good point, isn't it? Because that bridge was the one at what would have been Meikle Ferry. That's only 90s?
Yeah, 90s. The 90s was the Dornoch Bridge, yeah.
Yeah, so before that, you go to, I was going to say, go
shout out to Caroline.
And that would have added, an hour onto the...
Yeah, probably, aye.
And it's already a long enough drive, isn't it, when you're getting up the A9?
So if you had an electrical problem in one of your Toro mowers or whatever, I mean, you're literally phoning up Edinburgh still, are you? Or was there anything closer?
Well, we've I don't know if I'm allowed to use sponsors, but we're tied in a partnership with Toro. So what comes with that is that our mechanics are trained to Toro standard, so they're able to do their own warranty work and everything on the machines without having to get people up.
That's handy.
It's really good there. So that was a good initiative, and
that's the way to do it. But I guess the fact that you are that bit isolated means that you might not otherwise have done that. You have to sort of find these workarounds to make it easier.
And I hugely respected that when I first came up, and I thought, right, this is these guys know their onions.
Yeah,
I better raise my game.
So what about the other courses in the area then, mate? So
my pal Muir at Golspie, he's got I don't know if you know Muir, he's an absolute diamond, one of my favourite people. He runs Golspie, he's doing really well with that.
How good's Golspie?
I love it.
It's
I didn't used to love it when I first came up. I didn't get it.
Really?
I didn't get it. The
tail in 3 parts.
Yeah. But
because you start off, it starts and ends as sort of a bit more parkland, doesn't it, or either side of the clubhouse, and then straight into the link section. But then you turn into the ninth when you play that par 4.
Yeah,
maybe a bit earlier. I've lost my numbers.
I'm same. I've gone blank.
But it's almost like you turn a corner and you're in Surrey, isn't it? You go and you're in this Heathland and the Pines, and it's amazing.
I've become a
convert.
As I say, it took me a while. Just needed to play it a bit more, I think.
Yeah.
wasn't very popular in Galway because of football related things. So maybe it was to do with that. I didn't really, but yeah, I do like it. Brora, I think it speaks for itself. It's one of the best things you could ever play, I think. And
they got their turf pretty good. Those greens are pretty clean, aren't they?
It's just Macbeth's just magic, man. I just really really love the guy, and a lot of time for him. He does great there. And
then Tain is
I went to college with Ross.
Okay.
Ross has taken over there the past couple of years. He works away there, he's doing great. Yeah, I don't play Tain enough either,
It's just
I'm not playing golf enough. You're highlighting this to me. I'm not playing enough golf.
You've got no excuses. You've got enough daylight hours in the middle of summer, haven't you?
My girlfriend keeps me occupied.
Oh well, we better not start on that one. Everyone can draw their own conclusions on what Scooch is getting at there.
Yes, I know, I'm sure. The imagination runs wild.
Well, let's get back to the safety of the turf, mate. So recently you have done a few bits and pieces and changes to the main course. The 7th, probably the most notable change in recent years. How did that all come about?
Yeah, there's been a few changes actually. Back to when I first came up, because it's the measure, isn't it? We never did anything with the championship course. It was almost like just maintain this sacred
museum piece, yeah.
But somebody was getting their tiles hit with a golf ball in the 3rd, so we had to change that into a dogleg. I was fully against it at the time.
So when you say change it into dogleg, like pull the gorse down basically down that hill further.
That's correct. Yeah, we flipped the fairway over.
That makes. I didn't realise that. That makes a lot more sense, because you've got to be down the left to have a chance on that green, haven't you? If you go out right, you're scuppered.
You could be in trouble. It used to just be a straight.
Yeah.
It's changed a few times, that tee, apparently, in the history of things. But since I came, it was always straight down.
So did it used to be closer to the top of the hill at the corner?
I think there's an old tee still up there.
Because that's the only sort of, or one of very few sorts of longish walks, isn't it? You walk from the second green through the...
That is the best.
And then you get this reveal when all of a sudden you get through the bushes and you just see this sort of crescent of holes around the bay in front of you, and you just think, holy...
I think when that view gets boring for me, Badger, that's when it's time to...
Yeah, you've probably got a few centuries.
Time to move on, because that is just spectacular every morning, just going round that corner. And
yeah, we get a lot of videos from you, and you never seem to get bored of it, and it's pretty wholesome.
Yeah,
it was Jen and I were there, if you probably remember. We took Mr. Guinness on a camping trip, Lee's dog, and that's when I found out on the beach at Dornoch that I got the deal job.
Oh, really?
So we went and bought a bottle of Prosecco.
Lovely.
From the
Prosecco
from the spa. The Dornoch Spa shop.
The Dornoch stores.
Yeah. That's Dornoch stores.
It wouldn't be Prosecco now, it would be Grand Cru.
They'll sell that there now, will they?
So the third changed, and then when did that sort of change to mentality start?
After that, then I think Todd McKenzie did a sort of future, his sort of plans, what he would do with the course type of thing, and we took bits and pieces that we liked from it. The 7th being one. There's a sort of funny story about the 7th, because it used to be bushes in the right, and seemingly...
Well, both sides, wasn't it?
It was. You were just completely encased by gorse. But the legend has it that when the course was being pegged out at first, some naughty scoundrels from the town came and moved them. Very much doubt this happened, but tell anything to the golfers, won't the caddies will tell you anything. So... But I remember when we first knocked the gorse bushes down, I was just amazed at how big the land.
So much space,
so much space, and it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's a real, you'll know about this yourself with 17. It's a real, some folk love it, some folk don't. So I love it, and that's all that counts, really.
Good. And then 8, so you've made a few more changes there, the tees and the first half.
It was. If you came off 7, the way it is now, you had a hell of a walk to the 8th tee. So we just pulled them to where the old 7th green used to be. I think his idea there was that historically, the second shot at 8 would be from the top level to the green, and he's never.
No, I like that, because the whole point there for those who haven't been up, it's you sort of have it must have only been about 200 yards max to sort of the end of felt like the dropping off the edge of the earth, really, didn't it? And then you went, how far is that? 40 feet down. It's a hell of
it's a good jump,
and then
down there backwards on a Toro once.
Have you?
It's pretty scary.
Bloody hell! Well, it's a steep old thing as you come down that hill, then, isn't it? And then the approach to that green is just absolutely magnificent. But I can see why you'd want more people to
the top
to take it from the top, or maybe from the bottom if you get a good whack on it.
But it's just another example of not just automatically ripping your driver out the bag.
Yeah.
You stand in the tee, you think, right, what am I going to do today?
Yeah.
Because the wind's going to play a big factor in that, obviously. But if you're down the bottom, if you're driving it down there, the elevation changes in the bottom of the fairway are massive. So you could hit an elephant and fired away into,
and you can have a completely blind shot into
totally
it.
Blind,
terrible angle. It's
worthwhile leaving it up the top.
No, I like that one. And then sort of what else has been changed in your time there?
7 and 8. What else have we done with it? We changed the 14th tees. You maybe not believe that.
Okay.
We've changed the 12th tees for health and safety reason. Beside the 11th green, there was a 12th tee used to be there, so we moved that. All these changes have been for the better, I have to say.
There was a change put upon you on 17 as well, wasn't there? A bit of clearance down the left-hand side.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of scoundrels in Dornoch. Yeah, somebody thought they'd.
It's a recurring theme, this, isn't it?
Well, this is coming from the person that put a croissant in the toaster this morning and almost set his hotel on fire.
I didn't realise the seriousness of that until they didn't.
Until the fire engine turned up.
They didn't have a sense of humour about that at all, sadly.
So maybe
culprit number one for what happened up the road.
Maybe a croissant and a toaster is going back up the road to Dornoch in a bit more gorse, Will.
Actual sign says, "Do not put croissants in the toaster." Honestly, man, people don't read signs.
No, not big enough.
It's a fact. Yep. People don't read signs,
but
especially golfers.
Yeah, quite. But what we're getting at there is there's a lot of gorse in that part of the course, isn't there? Around the sort of what was left of 17, left of 18, right of 16 going up the hill, right of 15. It's I can only imagine that's a sort of relatively recent, sort of last 30, 40 years that sort of grown in.
Yeah.
And then a hell of a lot of it disappeared in a fire down the left-hand side of 17.
That's correct.
4 years ago.
There's a few, but he lit quite a lot of fires. The bank on the left of 3. That was really close to the houses. That was
that's dodgy
really
one.
Bad.
Yeah,
it was stupid, But personally, I'm not the biggest fan of gorse. No. I think it flattens land. There's beautiful links land there. I realise at Dornoch that we've got to keep it on the bank because it's that very famous picture, that bank in bloom. But
good on boundaries. Good on
absolutely up the
around
bank.
The edges.
But I think the plan is to get a lot of it out. But members don't like us taking it a lot out at once. So I think you've played it, Sam, since we took the bushes down right of 16th green.
Yes, I have. It's transformed, and you can see now from the clubhouse straight through.
I don't think
over the 16th green.
The idea was to let them grow back up.
God,
but
no, you wouldn't.
Now that the members get to see it,
but now it makes you, or at least to my mind, it makes you, or makes me think that being able to see that 16th green sort of silhouettes on the edge of the thing, it shows just how much gorse then is to the left of it.
Yeah.
Obscuring the 17th tee,
right.
down the 18th, down that side there. And if you could see all the way across, it'd be it's just a stunning view.
It's just jumped into my head with this new clubhouse that we're building.
Yes.
To be sitting on the balcony with your gin and tonic and looking right across there, it'll be magic in a summer's night,
Unreal.
So yeah, I think
well, can we talk about that? Because that is a very significant.
Finally, we've
project.
Broken ground.
You've actually physically broken ground.
The most expensive clubhouse in the UK.
I can't comment. I'm not a money man. I just know that it'll be for the betterment of the staff. Firstly,
good.
that work in that building. And secondly, I think, it's long
I would
overdue.
say that the current clubhouse is not quite to the standard of the championship course that you have.
It's had its day.
And is the new one in the same location, or is it to the side?
Slightly across. So the good thing is, Bledge, that we'll be able to
build it,
still have our clubhouse while that one's getting. But I think it's at 18 months. Is it
on the putting green?
It's just in the periphery of the putting green. Yeah.
And what happens to the old clubhouse?
We haven't decided yet. I mean, there's a lot of good ideas floating about.
Dormy's or
Stormy was one that I've heard, but
your house.
They haven't decided yet. I think they should give it to Ian.
Well, that's got to be something that you have noticed change in your time there, is the sort of gentrification of the town. You know, you think when Todd Warnock's Links House kind of thing there, now you've got this massive marine and lawn, 450 rooms in that station hotel. And you know, what's the going rate for a room in there?
I've seen anything up to 400 quid. I think.
Yeah, and you've got 450 of those rooms, and I think there's another sort of boutiquey one just next to it, the old Highland College or something there.
I don't know what it is. Is it flats or is it? I
think it's meant to be a high end little place. But the point is, you know, people are going to Dornoch and staying there and eating in the Ouija's, and
they are, and these are all positive things. But people have got to still live in Dornoch. You know, we don't have the wages that can afford to stay in these places, or sometimes eat in these places. You know, but they're very, very good establishments, and the gentrification is absolutely the right way of saying it. Luigi's is awesome.
It's a very good point on that, because you can always go a bit too far, I guess, too quickly.
You've just got to be careful.
Just got to manage it.
We all live there, you know.
Are we allowed to move from one contentious topic and mention another course just a bit to the north? Is there any? Do you know where we're up to yet with cool links? And
I don't. I think it's in the hand of the government just now. They passed the Highland,
because it was approved,
thing.
Wasn't it?
Yes,
and then
but the Highland, but it was the last
time.
time as well. So you just don't know.
Yeah,
you just don't know.
It's like it just takes forever, these things, don't they?
Yeah.
I've not heard a peep from it in a long time.
No, it's not really.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but more people staying, at least in that bit, rather than just staying in Inverness and taking a day trip up to Dornoch and then turning around and going home again.
We do suffer a bit from that. Inverness seems to be the hub where people will base themselves there and come up for a day.
Yeah.
It's got to be careful as well, because it's sort of commanding that for a lot of things, and you've got to remember the wee towns outside it as well.
Well, that's it, and you always, I think, have this responsibility almost to think of the wider impacts of what happens, and you know, if there's another course being built at Cabot Highlands and they build lodging and stuff, and you just consequences that sort of happen from
you're
things.
Absolutely right. You don't know how much the driving factor of the Cabot getting another course there shut down the local. I'm not saying this is Cabot's fault, but the local sort of music hall that I used to love going to see my gigs at, it got shut down. It's getting turned into a hotel seemingly. So
is that right?
Yeah. So I don't know what. That's, by the way, that's absolutely not Cabot's fault, in case that came across.
Yeah, we have lawyers lined up.
Sorry, Lee.
No, but it's like, I think you can probably tell it's one of my absolute favourite places in the country, one of my favourite courses, and
I'm dying to get up again. It's been so many years since I've been there.
Pledge, you've got to come up, man.
Yeah, we should go up in October.
Yeah, well,
you came up last time where I think you were taken up by a company. I can't remember who it was. You popped
we
up.
That sounds like Pledge.
Dan Lightfoot.
I met Dan the day.
Went up with Ben, who's now at Queenwood, and your man from Radley College, where I did all my public school work.
Oh yeah, you got your Radley time for 10 minutes.
Ed, and so we that's where we went and seen Cool. We had a look round at all the kind of plans for that, and then I think you had the shield on then.
Yeah,
you definitely did that, because you were swanning about in that truck, shouting, and rolling the window down and pointing at people.
Pointing. I'm really good at pointing.
But it's maybe a good kind of transition into discussing how we met in the first place and talking a bit about volunteer work. I met you probably about
15.
Something like that. We somehow, I don't know how it came about, but there was an opportunity to work at Cran-sur-Sierre.
Derek Robson.
Derek Robson at the Dukes.
Derek sort of
yeah,
does,
and so I went and met you at the airport. I'd never met you before. I'm like, Jesus Christ, who's this guy? And,
did he have the yellow sunnies on with no glasses?
Yeah, he had a pair of denim hot pants on, and actually was handed a sticker of you last night. Thinking about it in my jacket
That'll
pocket.
be Graham Roberts, is it?
Switzerland for a week, which was one of the most incredible volunteer experiences I've ever had. Because it is the most beautiful venue on the planet. I mean, we talk about like the golf course is good. It's actually really good golf course. But it's the views, essentially, which was like 360 mountain behind every single green tee approach, whatever. And yeah, it was.
I've got quite a good memory, but I've got a really bad mind's eye. Like I can remember being things, but I can't picture them in my head. I don't know why, hard drive's full or whatever. But I'll never forget those views for as long as I live.
Yeah.
Stunning.
You actually just didn't do work a lot of the time because you were just standing staring,
open mouthed at the.
I know.
Is that where Richie? Where Richie
was
was?
that year.
Yeah. So that year,
Big friend of the pod.
He is. Yeah.
You can
Shout
hear
out
us
Richie.
going mental when he holds that putt in the green.
Well,
you were inside the ropes being all photography.
I had a good zoom lens, and I was right in behind Richie when he hit his. He shot him and Danny Willett into 18.
Incredible.
It was amazing. I got that ticket to be able to walk in the ropes, and so that's what it was. It was great for me this year at the Open, getting to meet Richie properly, and we've become friends, you and I, with him now, which is really cool. And
it's great bloke, really into his architecture, really into his courses.
Oh, he loves his architecture. He's the nicest guy on the planet, and it was nice for me now to send him the photographs that I took from him. And I was like, I took these, and he was like, oh, these are amazing.
Aye.
And
I got a photo of him as well. He wasn't wanting to. He was busy, and I just had to say, I'm sorry, look, I'm not going to get this chance again. Richie would get a photo and he's kind of half hanging off him. But oh no, we were dead proud.
It was
just the icing of the cake.
And what was your job that week?
I was rolling greens.
In
the man, that was tough. It was tough. It was a really, really great experience for me. That I don't think you can say enough about how good tournament support is.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, you make some great friends through it. And Skellett, who's in your team as well, was on it.
Skellett, yep. Austin,
Tom Hookey.
Yeah,
from my place. It was super. And I cut the range that week.
And then that came full circle in July last year.
Yes, when Scott came and worked at the Open. And we kept him out of harm's way with Fraser Peacock on the range.
No, what happened? I used to give Bledge so much hassle because at Switzerland he had got the range job, but every time we came round from the really hard shift in the course, he's got a coffee talking to the pros. Machine's still running over there, class, And I was like, right, I tell you, no bother, mate.
On the range, it's the best job there. It's amazing.
Sky Sports are there.
If you're a golf badger, working on the range is the best. And the funniest thing about that is I'd always kind of probably finished. Well, Hector said to me, "You'll cut to the." Shout out Hector Forsen.
I love him.
So Hector is the course manager there. Spanish, could speak. He did his morning briefings in German, Italian, English.
Wow.
I think probably that. And
probably
also can speak. Yeah, he was unbelievable. The nicest guy on the planet, and he says, "You got the range tee with a triple X," and I was like, "Yeah, I can hand cut it if you want. You cut you say you hand cut it. If any of my staff, I tell them to do that, they tell me to F off." And so I hand cut it every day under the stripes, every single tier, all the stripes lining up, looking absolutely beautiful. But then I would always kind of finish early because that was my only job. And then Austin, the mechanic at the Dukes, would come round, and Hector gave him his club credit card. So we'd always end up going, "Austin, you spent a £400 on my credit card," and buying coffees and croissants. Great memories. So Scott did a off the scale job with Fraser on our range, and I mean the amount of damage you had to clean up.
Oh, it was incredible. It was one of the best experiences of my life. I could not believe the scale of the Open. It's huge. But that was I've done other stuff. I've done a few for Chris at Scottish Open, Chris Haspel. He was really good. And one year I think I've done 2 or 3. I didn't do the landslide one.
Oh God! That was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the first one. That was hellish, but
well, you'd be glad you didn't do that one.
I was quite glad. But Chris actually let me just shadow him one time. Just went round with him, doing all the things that he had to do, which was really interesting.
Top bloke, Chris.
And then I was down with you at Deal.
Yes, you came down a couple of times to the final qualifying.
Yeah. And I think that was the sort of pinnacle of, I've said Bledge was sort of almost subconsciously picking his team for the Open, the Open, not his permanent team, but the ones that were going to come in. And yeah, we did. We were all little pals by the time we arrived. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was good. And you had his saltire flying out the bunker bin.
Rampant.
Oh, it was a rampant lion, actually, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was.
Saltire.
Me and Frogley, me and Grant were bunker bin twins.
We could put you on the spot now and ask you to recite the Selkirk Grace.
To resign. To recite the Selkirk Grace. I can do it. Some may meat and can eat, some may meat that want it. But we hate meat and we can eat. So up there, United.
I knew he was going to change that last one.
Yes, not sure that's quite the finish, but
it's Burns' birthday tomorrow.
Good Dumfries boy. Good Dumfries boy.
You'll claim anything.
Yes.
Second most famous man from Dumfries.
Yeah, go.
Well,
Calvin Harris.
Scott, what an absolute pleasure it is having you on the podcast. After it's one of the first names Bledge and I wrote down when we were thinking who would be nice to come on.
You must be mad. I am deeply honoured. I've listened to these podcasts. I listened to all the podcasts that you guys do, and some of the names and some of the stories that have been on here have been brilliant. As I say, I'm the novelty act at the end of the news.
No, not at all.
Delighted. Thank you that anybody would listen to this. But I love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. Respect.
Thank you.
Top man. Thank you everyone for listening. Speak to you again soon.
Thank you.